Hi everybody, you're listening to the Khandaan podcast by the You Podcast team, a bi-weekly podcast revisiting the movies of Amir Khan, Salman Khan and Shahrukh Khan.
Every show we pick a random year from 3 decades of collectively 300 films the Khans have done and let our listeners vote which movie we should talk about. So it's entirely up to you.
Pick a team, make a vote, take us down nostalgia lane, punish us, or make us reassess a movie we dismissed.
We love the Khans, most of us, sometimes. And we would love for you all to be part of our Khandaan, because when it comes to the Khans in Bollywood, nothing else really matters.
We are back, episode 98 of Khandaan podcast. And a quick plug, it feels weird now doing a plug and then doing another plug because we do this together, but we have to think like people are, listening to this a week later. On this Sunday now, okay, my timeline is correct, 28th of March, we're recording our 99 and our 100 episode of Khandaan podcast, and we're going to be doing it live on YouTube. So come hang with us, come join us, ask us questions, see our thopras. It's going to be fun. Sujoy will sing a song.
Asim will cut a cake.
We'll all be cutting cakes. Cakes. It's gonna be fun. I just want to hang out with our listeners, man. It's gonna be cool. We've been on this journey of 100 episodes with us, and honestly, everybody's been so loving and positive about it. Except some assholes at the start. But usually it's really
even with assholes, they're like, "Your podcast is terrible, but I can't stop listening to it." Like, yeah, you're giving us your view or your listenership, so we are okay with that.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to it. And so that's on the 28th. We'll post all of the info in the show notes and follow us on social. You'll know how to come when it is. We've put in different time zones for wherever you are, probably where most of our audience is. We did ask everybody if they wanted us to do a Clubhouse or a Insta Live, and everybody went with YouTube. So I kind of am scared of YouTube. So I want our good fans to be there to save us from the bad fans. So come in like, that ending of V for Vendetta where everybody comes at Parliament House and takes off the mask. Do it like that.
That's a terrible analogy, Asim, especially given what happened at Clapham last night.
Tell people what happened at Clapham, man. People don't know what happened at Clapham.
So, a lady got, killed by a police officer last week. Let me pull up the name. Sarah something.
Sarah Everhart.
That's the one. And then there was a sort of a mourning ceremony that was held. People were, they took to Clapham Common, and the police came and just went mental. Basically, it was they had one job basically, and then they totally blew it.
No, let's get into our main review. Yamini, you're joining us too. Pappu Charu on Twitter, right? That's how you pronounce it.
Yes.
Perfect. You didn't get to pick the movie. We're sorry about that, right? We just kind of pulled you in. And we pulled you in and then made you watch Chennai Express.
Hey, Amrita said hey, you want to come on the podcast? We'll say Bandhan for you. So this is a welcome change.
This is the only time in history where Chennai Express has been in somebody's favor. It could have gone worse.
I chose the movie.
Why did you, Sujoy? Why did you choose this?
So, when I first watched Chennai Express, I have fond memories, and I think I sort of, I watched it on a pirated cam rip because I think it came out in 2013. I still didn't have my Cineworld card. I used to live in Croydon, so I didn't necessarily have the time or the resources to watch it at the cinema, so I watched it in a cam rip, and I quite enjoyed it for some odd reason. And then I thought, it'd be nice to go back to this. It's one of the most successful Rohit Shetty movies, and it's got Shahrukh and Deepika, so how bad could it be? And I was proved wrong.
So 2013 Sujoy was like basically Taboo and Namesake, like living in a...
What the hell was that?
Putting peanuts in his cornflakes and thinking of a better day.
Having a nature cereal. Have you seen that video, Nature Cereal?
Oh.
Oh God. Let's go with Yamini first. Like, I want to hear your thoughts on Chennai Express, and then have some questions for Amrita.
Like, my notes are basically like a running commentary of like what is happening at this point. Like, it's literally like that. Like, the first note I had was, in the opening scene only, blood is pouring out from Shahrukh's mouth and nose. Because Shahrukh loves blood.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, my blood guy has been with me forever. Like, my dude. Like,
मेरे खून का रिश्ता है, खून का रिश्ता.
like, that is my first note. And yeah, the commentary gets like, so the one thing that struck out to me, because I haven't watched this film in a long time, like So Joy, I watched it in 2013 with my uncle, who like unfortunately passed away like 2 years later. So I was like, oh, I have fond memories of this because like we had a lot of fun watching it. But then I rewatched it and I was like, Mama, why did you make me do this? Like, because like back then, and like keep in mind, like that time I was in like, I don't know if I was in 12th class or like my first year of college. Okay, so it was, yeah, quite some time ago. But one note I wrote was, honestly, I don't know if 40-year-old people do talk like him and his friends, because they talk like how my friends talked when they were 18 years old the first time they went to Goa. Is that what 40-year-old people talk like? Because I don't think so.
Let me tell you how 40-year-old on this side of the H tunnel, Yamini, we smoke pipes in clubs. That's what we do. Because we think that's cool, as the kids say. And I did pronounce that as Kewl.
Oh, desperately trying to stick with the Gen Zs.
Yeah. Amrita, I wanted to ask you, so when Chennai Express came out, the representation of South Indians was seen as cartoonish, exaggerated, preposterous. There was a lot of outcry from the population about how they were represented. Bollywood makers didn't take any notes and went with it anyway and made the movie a very big hit. So, Amrita, as a South Indian, how does it feel to be Muslim?
Adab.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I can't see anything past the coal in my eyes. Like, there's too much coal. So the thing is, like, this movie came after Ravan, right? And in Ravan, Shahrukh Khan is a curly-haired South Indian who is eating, like, pasta with curd because he needs to have something like, like curd rice, but like foreign. And after that representation of South Indians in a Shahrukh Khan movie, I don't think, like, I feel like every South Indian that has a problem with Chennai Express should immediately be shown Ravan to understand just how bad things could have been and to like thank their lucky stars that this is what they got instead. So it's like I actually sympathize with both Yamini and Sujoy and their dukh bhari yadein of this film because I think like this movie is simultaneously the worst, but also like not the worst when you actually think about it. Like sitting through it is terrible, but when you put it in a context in your head, it's not as bad as it could be. And the one saving grace of this film is actually Deepika Padukone. If you took Deepika out of this film just falls flat on its face. Because I was actually thinking about this, like Shahrukh, Shah Rukh does nasty better than anyone else, right? Like, that's how he built his entire career. Shah Rukh has, like, this whole thing of, like, playing evil characters, but he can make them sympathetic, but usually there's, like, a couple of things. One is his charm, which is, like, obviously, like, Shah Rukh levels of charm is just godly. But secondly, there's always like a narrative reason for why he's basically the worst, right? Like, it's never like in Dar, he was a motherless boy who was like ignored by his dad, and he was lonely, and he basically attached to Juhi. Like Kabhi Haan Kabhi Na, he wasn't that much of a bad boy. Like, he was just, he was just like one of those bumbling guys that just tries his best. And then in Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman, he was just basically the small town kid who has like big dreams in his eyes, which is like a theme that we see in like Yes Boss and a bunch of other places also, where he's playing like a slightly shady character. But every so often, like, he overtips his hand. So it happened, I think, for the first time in Anjam, and then we see it again in a couple of other movies. But in this one, he basically plays an asshole uncle, like the most uncle person, like like when Yamini was talking about it, I was like, yeah, he's an uncle, like the worst kind of uncle, the kind of uncle that you see boarding the same plane that you're on, and you're like, I hope they're not sitting anywhere nearby. I hope their eyes don't fall on me. I hope like nothing happens, and like they're trying to like flirt with the air hostess, like cheapada uncle, like the kind that you wish would just die on the spot, like just
Oh
terrible.
my goodness. Amrita, I have notes on this. Like, I literally wrote, hey, throwback to Anjali being a mithai wali in K3G, and Rahul is a mithai wala here. And in K3G, she's the comedy auntie, and here he's the comedy uncle.
Ugh.
And there's one scene where, like Deepika makes a joke and he goes like, typical Masi humor. I'm like, what have you been doing till now? You've also been doing uncle humor only. Kuch bhi you said. Like, there's this scene where he goes like, wo gaadi cigarette pee rahi hai. I'm like, bro, no. Like, this humor is like, it's making me very sad.
Yeah,
it thinks it is smart. This movie thinks it is smart with the meta humor and the references. It's trying to be Farah Khan in some way, but Farah Khan just did the choreography in this movie, and she must have thought this movie sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Farah Khan is weird that way. Like, if it makes money, she's fine with it. Yeah. But I you know what you're talking about? Those he's like a douchey uncle. Look at the friends of Shah Rukh in this movie, right?
Yeah. Yes.
If this, I mean, the character, if it was played by any of those two actors, you would know exactly who it is. But because it's Shah Rukh, you don't get that vibe, right? But those guys are exactly the kind of guys that you're describing, basically. The worst of the worst.
But see, like, that's the thing, right? Like, the moment you see who his friends are, the way he talks about his poor grandfather, I mean, like, he's just irredeemable, the way he talks to everybody, including Deepika, like the way he treats her throughout this movie. And then at the end, apparently he has his epiphany, and I'm just like, get out, I don't want you. But yeah, like, this was the one movie, like, I've stuck with Shah Rukh through like some really bad movies, but this was the one movie in which I was just like, nope, if like that version of Shah Rukh ever showed up anywhere near me, I would literally just like leave, or else I would just karate chop him into the ground, because he's the worst.
So let me tell you, I interviewed Shah Rukh and Deepika for this episode, for this movie, and actually I'll link to the episode so people can listen to it. I have not re-listened to the episode because it's so long ago. I was just a different person at that time, and I'm just like so in awe of being in front of Shah Rukh and Deepika. It's like it's a massive thing, right? Being in front of Shah Rukh, but. I interviewed them. So normally when you interview something, you soften up about a movie. That's just normal. You've met Shah Rukh, you've met Deepika, you're gonna like the movie. Like, it's very hard to then dislike the movie. But when I sat down to watch Chennai Express, I had to stop at least 5 times. I just could not get through the movie. Like, it just wasn't working for me. Every time I was like, watch 20 minutes and nothing worked. None of the comedy. I actively hated this movie. And over the last years, I've expressed that feeling, and I've never rewatched this movie since then. But people have keep coming back to me and said, no, it's quite good. It has good comedy. It has good songs. Shahrukh is good in it and things like that. And rewatching it for the show, I was like, maybe Corona and post-lockdown has softened me up. And I was like, I don't actively hate it, but it's just like there. The movie is just fine. You kind of like just sit through it, and Yamini, you're saying you have lots of notes, which I usually do. For this movie, I have no notes. Like, I didn't write anything down. I was like,
it's not even notes. It's just like a running commentary.
Yeah, and like there's not much in this movie to talk about in a way. Like, you just kind of like sit through it, and like stuff is happening. There's some references to Shahrukh's old career. And like Rahul and Naam To Nahi Suna Hoga, there's so many DDLJ references forced in. Like, even at the climax of it, the last line hai ki Dil Wale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, I was like, this makes no sense. Yeah. Like, there's no reason to put that voiceover in there at the end as a conclusion to wrap this story up, because there was never anything about a Dulhaniya or anything like that, like
except for the train chase.
The train chase, the song you mean, right?
No, the first one, when Shahrukh lifts Deepika into the train.
And then,
right, and then the Gundes come, and then it's the same. So that was a funny joke because it happens 4 times, right? But that's the only reference to DDLJ, right? Except that they're on a train, maybe, and which also the train is forgotten about. We never get back to the train. So yeah, it's a really, but I think it's just like Rohit. I've never been a fan of Rohit Shetty movies anyway. But I think what you're saying about this is the biggest hit. This is probably the most palpable Rohit Shetty movie, right? Like, I've not seen all of the Golmaal ones, but again, this is it. This is the best he can do, I think, right? Like,
yeah, he's not a good director, to be honest. He just takes pride in, I've got this team behind me and we've made these blockbusters. So he's basically a CEO of McDonald's when it comes to cinema.
Yeah.
He's just churning out shit and people lap it up because it's comforting, I suppose. And that doesn't really speak to what he represents in the craft of filmmaking or producing something that will hold up the test of time. Because also coming back to the writing team, Farhad Samji is one of the writers, and he does not write dialogues for a movie. He writes dialogues for a WhatsApp forward. It's like that, because this movie has no continuity. It's just segments where there will be something of a standout line and people will laugh over that, and uncles will forward those in WhatsApp. It's like that, Kumban Gao and don't underestimate the power of a common man and all of that. The Antakshari scenes which appear out of nowhere and everybody is just singing terrible remakes of a song. Yeah.
Is this the first movie that did a proper send-up of Shahrukh and his iconic roles?
No, that's Om Shanti Om, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Om Shanti Om killed it. Like, there should not have been ever another send-up of Shahrukh roles after Om Shanti Om. Farah Khan was the queen of it. Nobody did it better. But here it's like we spoke about this, like about Shahrukh kind of hating his Rahul characters a little bit. But I think here he's just being mean about it. No, don't you feel there's like
he's just
the difference?
Taken it like throughout the entire movie. He's just an irredeemable dick.
Yeah.
He's kind of taking revenge on. This is what being Rahul also means,
Yeah.
Because he seems angry at us. Like, doesn't it feel like he's angry with us, his audience? Like, he's like, this is what you want me to do? This is. Do you want to be entertained? It's like that gladiator scene.
Gladiator, yeah.
Has he played Rahul after Chennai Express? Like, has he played
Yeah, Jab Harry Met Sally was also.
Oh,
Rahul.
yeah. No, as in the name Rahul.
Oh.
I don't know if what was he called in that movie? I don't.
Harry.
Okay.
Harry.
We are getting old.
Oh God, I should stop smoking pipes, man. But let's try to maybe denot. This is a big, like I mentioned, a lot of people have said that they like this movie, right? This is a big hit on satellite. This was a big hit on the box office. Maybe try to untangle. Let's try to do something we never do. Let's try to figure out why people like this movie. No, I think that might be a good exercise. Like, Yamini, why do you think? Like, is there anybody that's ever told you, like your family or your friends, that this is an okay movie, and then you've like thought like maybe why? Who would want? Like, do you have any kind of like frame of reference for people liking this movie?
Okay, honestly, no.
Okay.
I mean, like, I've never met someone, because like the thing is, like, of all the films that you could hate, this is not exactly like on top of that list either.
Yeah.
But like, it's also not on like top of the films that you would like. Like, it's nowhere near like Shahrukh's like best performances. It's just.
And I don't think they were aiming for that either. You know.
Yeah, like, because I genuinely did, but like, so for me, when it comes to films like this, right, I don't think about logic. I'm like, no, just like, why think about logic and like unnecessarily like spoil my own like, frame of mind. Let's just, keep that aside. But the biggest logical flaw for me was that, okay, Deepika runs away from her house and comes to Bombay, but she's running away from a gundas and boards a train back to Chennai, like back to Tamil Nadu. Why would you do that?
Oh yeah, true. Wait,
like,
what? Yeah.
If you're running away, then why would you get on a train that's going back to your area? Like, you wouldn't do that, right, if you're running away.
True, I hadn't actually thought of that. Like, the thing is, you say, I didn't want to think about logic because you don't want to put in the effort that the filmmakers didn't put in, right? Like, you don't want to do more than they did, right? But yeah, that's a massive plot hole.
This just doesn't make sense to me, because she keeps talking about how she ran away. She's like, "Main to bhag rahi thi." And I'm like, then why did you get on a train going back to your area? Like, even if your brothers didn't get on, they could tell someone, hey, she got on that train coming to Chennai. Like,
So, like, I want to talk about Deepika because I think I've established this before. I don't like comedy Shahrukh. Is my least favorite Shahrukh. And this is like, I think that's what he's going for. I think it's comedy Shahrukh that he's trying to do. But let's talk about comedy Deepika a little bit, because I realized watching this movie, this is probably the last main review that we're ever going to have on Khandaan on Deepika Padukone, and that's kind of making me sad because she's not acted with Salman yet, and she's probably not gonna, and she's never gonna act with Amir. It's just like
again.
Yeah, unless it's like the Lord of the Rings Hindi, like, remake. It's like Anghuti Ka Sarkar or something like that.
Mabu is going to be playing Bilbo and...
So this might be the last one that we talk about, Deepika. And I wanted to talk about it because we spoke about it a lot when we were doing, Om Shanti Om. And that was the start of Deepika. And this is kind of the height of Deepika, right? Like, Chennai Express really, like, this is like Queen Deepika, height of her power. She's doing her own dubbing. She's, having like a comedic lead performance. And it's kind of cool to see that evolution, like, in the Khandaan perspective of things, right? How authentic is that accent?
Okay, I will say one thing. My roommate, when I was... during the time this movie came out, she is Tamilian, okay? And she saw the trailer only and she was like, bro, no, none of us say bakwas, dude. Even if we don't know Hindi, we just say we don't know Hindi. But she was like, no one talks like that. Who talks like that? And also, like, Tamilians will never by choice speak Hindi.
Yeah, that is true.
Because, I have a lot of South Indian friends. Nobody talks like that. I've never heard. And she is from, where is she from, Deepika?
Bangalore, I think, right?
Karnataka, yeah, Bangalore.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What do you think, Amrita? What do you think of her accent and kind of her the way she's kind of delivering those lines? Because people loved it. You loved it. We all love it. But is it authentic or is it like just a shit kind of impression?
Oh no, it's not authentic at all. But it's like, I think it's like based on, it's like one of those Indian accents, like they do in the West, where it doesn't sound like any Indian that you've ever heard. But obviously, like, Indians do have an accent, and it's kind of built upon that, like an exaggerated version of it. But yeah, like what Yamini said, like, Tamilians usually, like, if you ask them to speak in Hindi, they'll just be like, nope, no thank you, we'll just talk in English instead. Yeah, no, like, I actually really enjoyed Deepika in this film. I thought the comedy bits with her probably worked more than anything else in the film for me. Like the part where she's having a fit in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And Shahrukh is like, Meena chudail ho gayi.
Meena chudail ho gayi.
That is, I think, like, if you approach this film as a series of skits and you only watch the skits, like I was on YouTube and I was trying to find a print to watch this, and that was a whole journey in itself. But I found like a lot of these clips of the film on YouTube, and those had like a lot of likes, a lot of views, and people like really like cracking up in the comments. And I think like that's basically why a lot of people say that Chennai Express is a good movie, or they have like fond memories of it, because they remember the skits, and the skits are pretty funny because like Deepika's really funny in them. And the good thing about Shahrukh, like I've said this before, like he's not afraid to cede space to his co-stars. So, he'll allow his co-stars to have their moment in the sun. And with this movie, like, Deepika needed it, because otherwise this movie's unwatchable.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I thought that part was really funny when I first watched it. There was only the two parts I found funny in Chennai Express back when I watched it. Was the Bakwas Dictionary and the Ghost. Yeah, that one. And this time, because I knew they were coming, I was like, even that didn't really work for me. I don't know. I did find Shah Rukh's reaction funny, Meena chudail ho gayi. And there were a few things that I did laugh with Shah Rukh, and I don't know if they were like improvised or they were like written, but I just laughed at when he said, Tingu Billa kaun hai? That just made me laugh. It's so stupid.
I have a question for Amrita and Yamini here, because like compared to Asim and me, I think you guys know more about South Indian cinema, but do you guys think, the name suggests it's Chennai Express, and it's kind of a nod to South Indian movies, and I suppose with the name Chennai it would mean more towards Tamil cinema, but do you think this is more of a Rohit Shetty version of a Telugu movie rather than a Tamil movie?
Yeah. And I mean, I feel bad because already like the Telugu industry has like such a bad name, and for like totally legitimate reasons. But yeah, I'm not even gonna like disguise it, like. But yeah, but I mean, I think it's just Rohit Shetty trying to be South Indian, but also like that Bollywood, this is obviously there. It's like a mass cinema, but also like the comedy is a little bit too cringe. But again, like that is Telugu cinema also, so again, I can't really say much in defense.
Yeah, I don't think he's particularly leaning towards any one kind of cinema. I think he's just doing like Madrasi cinema, like that's what Rohit Shetty is trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, like, you see the song with Kashmir to Kanyakumari, and you've got Bharatnatyam dances, but you also got Kathakali dances in the same thing. It's like a hodgepodge. Ye hai South India.
Yeah. But see, I mean, sorry, just one. Like, I have one, this thing. So we were talking about Deepika, right? Like, I really do like comedy Deepika. I think she has that comic sense. Even when it comes to like, so I don't know if you could say Piku is a comedy film because, but like those elements that I think Deepika, she does shine when it comes to like comedy, especially in this film, like when you compare like to how unbearable Shahrukh is. And one more thing that, so with all these like older actors, right? You know, when there are like actresses who are like much younger than them, there is like that disconnect that exists when it comes to comfort levels. I feel like that doesn't exist with Shahrukh and Deepika. I feel like they're actually very comfortable with each other.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that I did enjoy in this. Like, it could have been much worse if like they weren't comfortable with each other. But I think they have that.
I do think they're comfortable, but I also think in this one the age difference is really
Yeah.
It wasn't as much as in Om Shanti Om. It was, but also like because they're playing like characters in the 70s where all the heroes were old ass, that kind of thing. And then like he was older in the second part of the movie. It kind of worked. He was a bit younger. Here it's like he really looks old compared to,
And I think they tried to pull that leg into the comedy as well, when they make a joke out of him being 50-year-old and stuff like that.
Yeah, they do mention it, but it just like visually it looks a bit weird. I do have to say, like, one thing is I didn't have much understanding of South Indian movies as much as I have now, although I still don't have much understanding, but I literally had not watched a movie then, right? And do we need to credit Rohit Shetty not credit, but did he see something that Bollywood didn't see, that there would be so much crossover and OTT success and Bahubali? Chennai Express came before all of that.
But
and
they
now
were already making like Telugu cinema in Hindi, right? Like Wanted and stuff.
yes, but now I think like there's the original is being watched as much, like those stars are getting known. I think there's just more, like when I was watching Chennai Express, for example, the first time, there's a lot of like special appearances, right, from actors from the South Indian industry.
I mean, Katappa is in this.
Yeah, but also like the guy on the boat, right? When he's on the boat, right? And I also think there's a kind of a dwarf actor, right? Isn't he also like a well-known actor? Or I've seen him in other movies, no? Or am I mistaken? The one that goes, you know what I mean? No?
Everybody has erased their memories.
Nobody knows.
Okay, let's go with the sequence of the boat character, right? Initially, when I watched the movie, I didn't understand at all why that sequence is in the movie, right? But now that I watch it, I was like, okay, it's kind of a special appearance of this actor that I've seen in other movies, right? But then at that time, the awareness was just not there for me. Now I kind of understand it a little bit more because I've seen more South Indian movies. So I'm just wondering, did Rohit Shetty see something that, this wave was gonna come, that we would have like Kabir Singh and, the actors kind of coming over and Saho and, like that new movie that they're having, like the pan-Indian releases and, that kind of thing. Did he already see something that we didn't see? We were only just seeing, Wanted remakes at that time. That was the only way it would be palpable, where I think now it's very, very different.
Yeah, I think you're
I
giving
don't want to
way
give
too much
any credit to Rohit Shetty's mastermind.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like there weren't Telugu and Tamil heroines coming into like Hindi cinema back in the 80s and 90s as well, right? Like heroines, even like if you think about it, like Nagarjuna was there in several films in the 90s as well, even though he's particularly like, what do you call? Centered in the Telugu industry.
Okay. I was gonna be bad in the Hindi cinema.
Come on, man. I've watched Shiva so many times.
Is Shiva a Hindi movie? Is dubbed, no?
No, it's Telugu, then he remade it in Hindi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Like I don't know. Rohit Shetty is a weird one, man. Like I feel like, obviously he makes cinema that's not for us. We don't like it. Like, and honestly, conversations I'm having about Chennai Express, people telling me the same I hear about Simba. A lot of people come back to me and say Simba is actually a good movie. So the thing is, like, he's not making movie from us, but he does have some sort of in with the audience that we don't have, right? Like, I think all of these guys, like Dibakar Banerjee, I'm sure he would love to have the success that Rohit Shetty has, but he just doesn't understand the audience. I don't think it's necessarily selling out or dumbing out his movies. He knows the pulse of the audience, and he's basically just giving them what he knows would work. And I don't know. I kind of respect that in a way, like just being hardcore commercial and making it work. Better than being hardcore commercial and failing.
So Rohit Shetty is essentially the reaction channels of Bollywood.
I guess. But can you hate that? Like, I don't know. You gotta respect the hustle, man.
I suppose.
What do you think, Amrita? What do you think of my theory?
Yeah, I think you're giving him way too much credit.
Chalo, okay. Shall we talk a bit about the songs? Because music has usually been the weaker part of all Rohit Shetty movies, right?
Yeah.
Even, I think maybe Dilwale is probably the best soundtrack he has, if I'm not mistaken, which is we haven't done Dilwale yet. We were close to. We were almost, it was either Chennai Express or Dilwale. I think we dodged a bullet. Yeah, Yamini nahi milni thi. She was going to be like, out, I'm out.
I've still not watched Dilwale, by the way.
Oh, no, dude, you are in for a ride. So Joy, man, what did you think of the music of this movie?
I mean, I knew that this is a total masala. It's supposed to be a masala movie, but the first song doesn't happen till the 50-minute mark, and I was like, I'm starving for any sort of song to come through.
I had the same feeling.
It felt like forever for the first song, and the first song that happens is the 1, 2, 3, 4 get on the dance floor, right? I mean, I think the soundtrack, some of the songs, I like 2 of the songs. I like Titli and Kashmir Mein Tu Kanyakumari, which is shot extremely beautifully. But those 2 are the only standouts. Everything else is kind of meh. And I in the track listing, I can see Chennai Express. There's a title track which is sung by S.P. Balasubramaniam and Jonita Gandhi, but I have never heard of this song. Have you guys heard?
Isn't it just the title song, the Chennai Express?
Yeah.
It's playing constantly in the movie.
But it's like that. The bit that is playing during the movie is not sung by S.P. Balasubramaniam, right?
I don't. Okay, I don't know. I didn't know. I thought that was the song, basically.
Okay.
Yamini, what did you think of the songs?
No, I was just gonna say that, like, my favorite song in this movie is unfortunately the one that's, like, not in the movie, which is the Chennai Express one. Because, so this was, like, back then, you just, like, download the entire album and put it in the phone, right, and, like, listen to it. But this is actually the only song that I still listen to, like, that's still in, like, my loop. As opposed to, like, it's not like I don't like this soundtrack, but the thing is, like, it's not necessarily one which stands out for me at all. It's just, like, because when I was watching the movie again, I was like, oh shit, like, this song is there in this movie. Oh yeah, I've forgotten, like, Tera Rasta Choduna is in this movie. But the Chennai Express one, again, it's also because, like, like, Telugu, S.P. Balu, there's, like, this, intense, appreciation that we have for him. And especially because with this song, it was like, I remember there had been, like, news that he's, like, returning to sing, like, a Hindi song after, like, 15 years. So everyone was, like, very excited. But yeah, I realized, like, a lot of people actually haven't heard the title track.
Yeah, I think everybody was excited, but they didn't know what music in a Rohit Shetty movie is exactly.
Yeah. And the cutest thing is that he does like the whole English thing, right? When when he's like talking in English in his song, so he goes like, I see throw your hands up and touch the sky high. It's so cute. It's so cute.
Miss SP Bala, man. Amrita, any songs that you liked or like picturization of them or anything? Was it the Antakshari singing?
Lungi dance. That's what Amrita likes.
Something. Do you like something? Give me anything.
Yeah, I'm really trying.
Kuch bhi chalega, Amrita.
So I actually enjoyed the 1, 2, 3, 4 song because it has Priyamani in it. And I like her so much. And, like she and Shahrukh actually have like a very cute chemistry between them, I think. And I remember thinking like, these two should act together. And then I like the picturization of like Kashmir to Kanyakumari. And I haven't heard, so I'm like the general public, I have not heard the title song sung by SPB. I have no idea what that is, but it sounds really cute. So I am going to check it out after this, after we finish recording.
Yeah, it's for me. It's nothing is good, honestly. Like
After all you've gone round table and Asim goes, nothing is really good.
Yeah. I like Titli, probably the best one. But the thing is, Titli is such like one of those classic songs of that time, and at that time there were better songs than Titli, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking like it's very much like Manwa Lage, for example. Like, Manwa Lage is a better song, right? Like that kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
So it's good because the rest is so bad. I think I do you feel like watching 1, 2, 3, 4. By the way, this soundtrack was composed by Vishal Shekhar. Isn't that absurd? Like when you think about it, like these are kind of like talented guys. Like how much did they sell out on this? Like it's like nothing is even like it's like the bottom of the bottom, like discount bin Vishal Shekhar. But it was reminding me of Vati coming. We were watching in Master, like the setup of it, and I was like, maybe they were trying to go for like a very like South Indian kind of like very energetic kind of song setting, but again, that's where I was trying to go with, like he was being ahead of the curve. He saw something that I hadn't figured out then. But the song isn't really good. I do think like even like with so many people around him, Shahrukh is such a star though, right? And Priyamani, right? Like they just stand out. And I don't know if it's the way the song is shot or the lighting is, but the more people you add, the more these stars, their starriness comes out, and that's kind of like a cool thing. And yeah, Kashmir is like the it's so much money on the screen, it shows. But I just wish it was a better song, like I don't know, like it's really like C grade songs in it.
I mean, we have to definitely talk about the phenomena that was Lungi Dance sung by Yo-Yo Honey Singh.
Do we have to talk about it? Yeah, it does bring you back to a time when Honey Singh was a thing, right? Like even that is like seems like a decade ago. But yeah, that was a thing. You had a Honey Singh song, and it always was a big hit.
I think that's kind of Sorry, Amrita, go ahead.
Oh no, the worst thing about the Lungi Dance thing is that Deepika and Shahrukh decided that it was going to be their calling card for like years later. Yeah. And like Deepika would go on things like the James Corden show and be like, I'm from Bollywood, let me show you what a Bollywood song is. And then she would do the freaking Lungi Dance song, and I'm just like, why? Oh.
And they made Kevin Spacey and John Travolta do the Lungi dance.
I for awards, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm getting like flashbacks now of this. I forgot it. Like, some things you just like erase from your memory happily, and then it like hits you suddenly. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But Lungi Dance kind of encapsulates what Rohit Shetty was trying to do with Chennai Express, right? It's like a reference sheet of what makes a South Indian movie in his head. Mucho ko thoda round ghuma ke and all of that. It's just that. It's very surface level and not funny.
But also the fact that it's about Rajnikant, but the movie and the song and anything else doesn't have anything to do with Rajnikant. Like there's just like a passing reference. I don't know why. Like I don't know why the song is about Rajnikant. Does anybody understand that?
No.
Well, it's a Chennai Express movie with like the name is called Chennai Express, so they had to make that reference somehow. But they don't mention him once during the movie.
Yeah, I was wondering if it's like is like I didn't know, but like is the idea that don't underestimate the power of a common man, is that supposed to be something Rajnikant related, like a translation of another dialogue he did, or like he's known for these kind of like punchy dialogues? I don't know. I thought maybe that's a reference. I was just like trying to understand why Lungi Dance is in there, because it's just a promotional song basically, right? Like there's nothing else to it. There's like Yeah. I don't know. Yamini, any other thoughts you had on Chennai Express? Anything else that we forgot to discuss?
So I have one question, okay? There is that bit where, she says like, when they reach that other village, right? And she says, I lied to them saying that, I am rich and you are a halwai. I'm like, is it wrong to be a halwai? Because Rahul lives in this like palatial mansion in Mumbai, where like land rates are off. Like, so why is it wrong to be a halwai when you're clearly a super rich 40-year-old man with family wealth? I mean, that is one thing that I cannot understand. Like, is this like a caste thing?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
But thoughts.
I had the same, like, but I didn't think about it until like the whole white tiger thing came up, and like there's like Balram Halwai in it, and so after that I was just like, oh, is that what it is? Like I don't really know. But the thing is, like, Rohit Shetty isn't smart enough to make a comment like that, so I'm just like, I think it was just like a cheap shot at like, oh, you're a halwai.
Yeah, but it's so then why keep him in such a like huge ass mansion if like that is your issue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't understand. The one thing that I did appreciate in the halwai scenes, the family, that it wasn't like some sort of spin-off of the Hum Aapke Hain Kaun family. Like it was all different actors. And I kind of appreciated because I couldn't really place who this family is, and I didn't come with, preconceived notion like, Rima Lagu would show up or something like that, like be the Ma. And then because the movie forgets about them, we also forget about them because they're not important to the plot whatsoever. But it was just kind of like refreshing to see, actors faces that I didn't know. But yeah, the halwai sequence I didn't get. I did find it interesting that he was rich because he had like the Nokia Lumen 924, which is like 34,000 rupees in. Like we talked about in Har Dil Jo Pyar Karega how the Opel product placement was badly done, right? And then we have Chennai Express, and I was thinking like there's been no evolution. Like, it's so bad.
But I do have to say, I did laugh at that bit where he just like, goes like, Garibo.
Yeah, Garib.
So that was actually the thing that I really enjoyed about the one thing that I enjoyed about Shahrukh's performance is that every time he gets angry and afraid, his voice goes to this other register and he really starts bleating, and that was super funny to me.
It was funny because Shahrukh, this is not his zone, but he commits to it, right? And I think that's what for me makes it funny. Like he goes like to not 11, he goes to 35, like he goes like all out with it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like I did laugh every time he said Gundi, instead of Gunde, he thought Gundi. I thought that was funny, but I don't know if that was the case or it was just like me being beat down by the movie, and also the finale climax where he's like in front of the village, bloody teeth, and he's just like that scene where they're like, will you say yes when I ask you to marry me? And it's like, that's a Shahrukh I like, like bloodied face and like being super overtly romantic, and then having Deepika on the other side. That was maybe one scene that also worked for me. But slim pickings, na Amrita?
Yeah.
Final words, Amrita?
I hate this film.
You hate it. Okay. Where did you find a print though?
When I have a Hotstar subscription, and they had it, but they had it in Malayalam for some reason. And I tried to like watch it for a while, and then I was just like, no, this is like way too weird. Like, it's terrible in Hindi, but it's somehow even worse in Malayalam. And I was like, no, I can't do this.
I watched it in Telugu once, like when it was coming on TV, just for kicks. And yeah, now I get Asim why you said it could maybe be a Telugu film. Sorry, Sujoy.
Yeah.
Because in Telugu it's all the more outrageous.
I spent $4 on this.
Wow.
I couldn't find, because until like Sujoy, when you suggested it, I was okay with it. I didn't discuss much. I was like, oh sure, because it's on Netflix. But then yesterday when I started watching, I was like, so mad that it wasn't on Netflix anymore. But now, because now I had to pay money. But I have to say, and I'd forgotten this because they leave no impression, Rohit Shetty movies, on me, right? Like, I did appreciate watching these oversaturated colors that they use in like a very high print because I paid money for it. I don't know, it just like felt lively after, being in winter for the last few months and, like hoping spring is coming, I just like the kind of over Disneyfication, oversaturated colors. I don't know, I appreciated a little bit of the photography, but honestly, I'm like...
Especially coming from Bombay Begums, which was like desaturated as fuck.
Yes, yeah, for sure. And I mentioned the movies that I watched, right? Like there were a lot of like blue filters and like dour independent filmmaking. I watched the black and white movie Angur, so it's kind of cool too, which is a kind of tie up because I think the next Ranveer Singh movie is a remake of Angur, isn't it? Like
Circus, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So I don't know why
which is also Rohit Shetty.
Yeah, I know. There was some method to my madness, but yeah. Sujoy, man, final words on Chennai Express. Are you happy? Are you happy what you did to Amrita?
No, I take full responsibility and I apologize for what I brought on to my Khandaan. But to end the episode, I would say, Are ja re, tu shauchai laine ja re. Some toilet humor that came out of Chennai Express.
Hilarious. Yamini, final words?
Final words means like, so as
wrap
I was
it up.
nearing
What do you think of this experience that you went through?
As I was nearing the end of the film, there is one note that I just found where I wrote, is Rohit Shetty the Michael Bay of Bollywood too? And
Yes.
I would like to leave everyone with that thought.
I mean, at least Michael Bay has The Rock, right?
Yeah. Who does Rohit Shetty? Ajay
Ajay Devgan. He has Maidan. God. Okay, I mean, my final thoughts. I think I've softened up a bit more about this movie, like I mentioned, than I was before. But I honestly, whoever says that Chennai Express is good, I don't understand you. I don't understand your language. I know that we're both human beings on this planet that we call Earth, but there's such a divide between you and me. I don't think there will ever be a common ground, unfortunately. So yeah, those are my final words on Chennai Express. Yamini, I'm sorry we did this to you, and I promise we'll have you back with a movie that you can pick. But until then, where can people find you online?
You can find me at Papucharo on Twitter. Yeah.
Great. Amrita.
You can find me on my YouTube channel, Amrita by the Book, where I discuss books, and also on Twitter at Amrita IQ.
Sujoy?
I'm at Twitter and Instagram at 93K, and you can also follow the Khandaan podcast on Instagram at Khandaan podcast. And remember, for episode 100 of Khandaan podcast, we are doing a YouTube live with Amrita, me, and Asim, and we'll also have guests on it. The details will be in the show notes. It will be streaming on March 28th.
Yeah, so this will probably be going to be like 4 or 5 days after this episode's drop. So, follow us and join us. It's going to be fun. You can find me at Asim Bernie. You can find us at khandanpodcast.com or at youpodcasting.com. Drop us an email on youpodcasting@gmail.com. Leave us a review on Apple Podcast. And thank you for listening.
Khandaan podcast on the acting class.
The I didn't realize you liked me that way deal. Because it's one thing to receive McDonald's, but an entirely other thing to know that they woke up early to face the world and bring you McDonald's breakfast still hot in the bag.
Appreciate you.
There's a deal for every morning. Now grab 2 loaded sausage burritos for only $3. Prices and participation may vary. Single item at regular price. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Ba-da-ba-ba.